Okay, it's your show.
Excellent. Okay. Good afternoon, Irina.
Good afternoon, John. Pleasure to talk to you again.
Thank you very much. No, pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me back on. And I think following on from our last call, I think maybe there's an opportunity that we flip the roles round and maybe I ask you a couple of questions this time. How do you feel about that?
I feel unbelievably stressed for some unknown reason, but let's go for it. It's good to get out of your comfort zone.
Excellent. Nothing to be stressed about. So yeah. So let's follow the theme of last time. So Irina, what brought you into the planning field, and what was it that attracted you into the planning space and made you stay?
I would say that I don't have a very traditional path to WFM in the sense of I didn't work in a contact center as an agent. So I literally stumbled upon my role as a sheer accident. And I keep on saying the same story that I was very desperate to get out of my previous job, which was, yeah, really not for me. But I found that role and I thought it's going to be a temporary role that I'm entering into. And I didn't have a clue what's about to happen to me. And, looking back, I don't know how I stayed. But one thing I would say that you either hate being in WFM or you absolutely love it. And when I first started working in planning, I can't say that I really loved it back then because there wasn't much of a training, much of explanation. The expectations weren't really set. And I saw maybe a little bit more of the bad side of planning, the usual screaming in your direction, people asking you questions that you're clueless about, because again, nobody's really telling you what and how you should be doing stuff. But then with time, I actually started taking the emotions aside from the equation and looking at planning a bit more from the human aspect of it and from cracking the puzzle type of thing. So it ended up being right up my alley. So now, many years later, I am absolutely in love. I'm happy that I became a planner.
If you don't mind me asking, how long have you been working in planning and MI for?
Oh, it must be somewhere around the 14, 15 years mark.
So there was definitely something in it that made you stay then.
No, it's definitely. I find planning is so underrated. People keep on thinking it's boring, and it's pissing me off. It's not boring. It's super entertaining. It's amazing. We just are doing a little bit of a bad job selling planning to other people and to other departments, but there is a lot to learn. There is a lot to explore. You can put your skills to many different roles outside of planning. So definitely a lot of things that can keep you happy and occupied in planning.
No, I agree. I agree with that completely. That's a nice little segue then. So obviously lots of experience, I assume a number of different industries. So if you were talking to Irina 15 years ago, or somebody who's looking to get into planning, or they're having that conversation with themselves about whether they should stay, what are your top tips, or what are those little nuggets of information that you've picked up over the year that you would share with people?
Hmm. I would say never underestimate the importance of networking. And this is in and outside of your organization because you might find yourself in a situation where people are willing to help you within the organization, but they themselves don't know the processes or how they can support you. But there are a lot of people out there in our community who are more than willing to help in any way that they can, to advise you, to give you tips, tricks, and advice on planning. So I would say network. If you want to progress your career, you have to spend time with different departments. I keep on rehashing the same topic that it's really not enough to be very good technical wise or good with numbers. You need to be equally good, if not more, with different departments and handling difficult conversation and being able to explain planning and why is it so important to different stakeholders in the organization. And maybe even bigger tip than this one, don't get too emotional. I mean, you need to grow a thicker skin because it can be challenging. People can be very frustrated. I myself have been very frustrated many times. It almost gets to a point where you're thinking people are doing things on purpose, just to annoy you. That's not the case, and you need to grow a thicker skin and be able to put yourself in other people's shoes if you want to be good in your job.
I think that's great advice. Would certainly second that. And I think you really have hit the nail on the head. Don't be afraid to ask. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and somebody else might have just thought of something you haven't. You just got to
Oh,
ask.
and you know what? It's very interesting that you're saying that because exactly because I didn't have a formal training like this is step one, this is step two, this is step three. I ended up having imposter syndrome for so many years. You have no idea. People would be asking me a simple question like, what's workforce management? And I will panic because I wasn't really formally introduced. So you can see me like doing something for years and then you end up asking me a simple question and I'll be like macaroni. Like I don't know what to say to this question.
I think that'd be quite an interesting poll. Maybe if we put something out there that was anonymous and said, when when did you feel you really had it, and how long do you think you were faking it until you made it for? I bet you there's other people out there who have that experience and maybe aren't, need that, that sort of, they have got it and they maybe just haven't realized it yet.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question, and I'm not sure, to be honest, when I've had it. Like, if I say that I don't have imposter syndrome anymore, I think this will be sort of a lie because in certain situations it does get triggered. Even still, I have so many years of experience and I have worked in basically all sides of the business. But the imposter syndrome is something that's happening here. Like it has nothing to do with your skills, it has nothing to do with your knowledge. It has to do something with your confidence
Yeah.
at that. And I think what really helped me was that mental shift, thinking, okay, you know what, if I screw it up, this is the chance for me to learn and to be better and to grow. Because previously I was so keen on perfection and I need to be top of the top and perfect and I need to be nailing every single thing. So even the idea for making mistakes was something that was driving me off the wall. And then at some point, I realized that this is what's stopping my growth.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what actually allowed me to put myself out there and to be more vulnerable and give me the opportunity to challenge myself and to make mistakes and to learn from them. And I think this was what helped me get out of my shell.
I think that's a great mindset and approach to take. And I bet you there's lots of people out there who are unconsciously competent and they just haven't realized it yet. And it does
Oh,
make it
you know
just take
what?
sticking out.
I am so surprised that one of the amongst the best people that I have worked with are so humble and they have no confidence at all and they don't believe in themselves. And I think we should be really supportive of people and you will find out that the more people know, the more they're like doubting themselves. Almost it's like working in the other way around. So I would say just put yourself out there. Nothing will happen if you make a mistake. You'll learn, you'll grow, you'll fix it. Nothing else will happen.
Yeah. Don't hide your light under a bushel.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, that brings me on to my next question. So obviously you've had a very, very experienced career, but you've moved into the consultancy space. And would you mind sharing a little bit about how you came to make that decision and what it was that brought you into consultancy through traditional corporate life?
Oh, I have been a consultant for the past 5 to 6 years, and I've been a part of a consulting agency, and then I worked on the vendor side as a consultant. But for me, it's always been that itch that I want to do more because, when you're working for another company, you have to defend that company's interest, right? You can't be very impartial, even though you might not necessarily always agree with a certain director, or maybe there is a better advice for the customer. You can't necessarily go and say it out loud, if you know what I mean. But I always wanted to stand behind my name, and I found that working for myself gave me that opportunity to be helpful in many other ways than just working for a company, whether it is with my content that I can freely express myself, whether it is with my work. And I felt it's just the right moment. I've always wanted to do it. I didn't think I'll find the courage to do it, but it was the right moment, and I had a great support around me. So that's how I ended up here.
That's really encouraging. And you certainly didn't hide your light under a bushel and you took the leap.
Well, if I say that it was an easy decision, it wasn't. I was hesitating. I allowed myself to go into the trap of what if I fail? What if that doesn't work out? What if I'm not good enough? What if nobody wants to work with me, likes me? And of all of that doubts. And that's why I'm saying mental shift is so important, because I started saying to myself, so what? What
Yeah.
if that happened? What if it doesn't happen? What if people want to read what you want to say? What if people want to work with you? And the moment when I start looking at it from the perspective of failing is not always a bad thing, it gives you opportunity to grow and opens others door. It can do miracles for you. And sometimes, at least for myself, I can genuinely say that I was holding on to stuff, being so scared not to lose on something that I currently have, that I was getting in my own way for quite a long time. So yeah, just trust yourself a bit more. We only live once, so allow yourself to explore yourself in the full capacity.
I really like that. You can ask yourself, what if it goes wrong, but what if it goes right? That's the real
Exactly.
question.
Exactly.
Excellent. So I promise I won't throw any more questions at you after this one, but one last question. So obviously, what are your goals and aspirations for 2024, and what you want to see, and what would you like to achieve in the consultancy space?
Oof. I want to achieve a lot in the consultancy space. I want to achieve even more in the industry. I'm planning on kicking out my own podcast
Mhm.
that I will try to take in a little bit different than the traditional direction, because I feel like our industry is still a bit conservative. There is definitely a shift, but you can still sense the old traditional conservative type of way. And I want to break that apart, or attempt to do it, because again, for me, WFM is so interesting, and people working in WFM are very interesting. They don't often believe themselves. So you know what? I want to try to get them out of their comfort zone and allow them to grow, allow them to be who they are, to speak their mind, and see if that will have any effect on the industry.
I think that's a really positive goal for the next year, not just for yourself, but for the people who are involved. And I think you'll get a lot of listeners, and I think you'll get a lot of interest in that. So I wish you well with that. It's been really interesting to hear your story and hear your background, and obviously an opportunity for us to hear a little bit from you. So thank you for being so candid, and thank you for being open to sharing that with us.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation, John. And you know that talking about myself is not my favorite thing to do. I would much rather hear more about you. But thank you so much for spending the time with me. And I hope it's a great year for all of us, and a great year for WFM.
I'm sure it will be. Thank you very much.